We're getting multiple reports of a grass fire. It's going to be behind the area of 164 Alameda Drive. 164 Alameda Drive. We have a caller advising that the fire is headed to our houses on Glendower. It's behind or close to the water treatment plant as well.
That was a 911 call for what many thought was just another vegetation fire on the Greenway, but it quickly grew into one of the most devastating disasters Southern Oregon has ever faced.
Looks to be a fire about a half acre. Call this Alameda Command, the Alameda Fire.
The Alameda, South Open Chain, and Slater fires all ignited 5 years ago today. Good evening, I'm Samantha Cadera. Over the next half hour, we'll look back at the destruction they left behind and see how our community continues to move forward from devastation to determination. This is Newswatch 12's 5 Years of Resilience Special.
It wasn't just a grass fire that raged out of control. So instead of having forest and trees on fire, we had whole neighborhoods of homes on fire. So it's a whole different beast in itself. We could have thrown 1,000 firefighters on it, but the fire still would have done what it, that was nature doing that.
Multiple fire agencies were mobilizing for what quickly became a massive event. With hot, dry, and windy conditions driving the flames, crews knew the challenge was beyond anything Southern Oregon had ever faced before. I'm joined now by Storm Tracker 12 Chief Meteorologist Matt Hoffman, who was here covering these devastating fires. Matt, how did the weather conditions set the stage for such a devastating fire 5 years ago?
Yeah, Sam, it was truly a perfect storm for getting devastating fires that day. There were 4 main fires that took off that day. The Slater and Devil fires to the southwest, the South Open Chain fire between Butte Falls and Shady Cove, and then of course the Alameda fire that devastated Talon and Phoenix. The combination of drought, strong winds, hot temperatures, and very low humidity set the stage for extreme fire behavior. Ahead of September 8th, fire season had been fairly tame, but drought continued to worsen through the summer with severe to extreme drought conditions in place that week. Forecast models had shown a very concerning weather pattern setting up for September 8th.
Come Monday evening, we bumped up our messaging to extreme from critical because we figured that this pattern was going to be a serious problem for us. And so we had been communicating, this to our fire partners for days leading up to it. Our red flag warning for this event was issued with 72 hours notice.
These extreme fire weather conditions were due to a low pressure system with a strong cold front that swung down the Rockies. The area of high pressure behind it created a tight pressure gradient, setting the stage for a strong east wind event, helping to spark and spread fires across Oregon. When the Alameda fire started, this weather pattern brought strong and persistent southeast winds to the Rogue Valley. As those fast winds descended down into the valley, it not only heated up the air, but also crashed humidity values to as low as 4%. With this combination, along with wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour, the Alameda fire was able to spread out of control despite firefighters' best efforts.
As the Alameda fire grew to approximately 3,000 acres, our communities were confronted with the devastating reality of the destruction left in its wake. Approximately 600 businesses were impacted by the fire, with over 130 of those being entirely destroyed. The damage extended into neighborhoods, leaving a lasting impact on residents. Over 2,500 homes were lost between Ashland and South Medford, displacing approximately 6,000 of our community members. Newswatch 12's Oscar Rodriguez connected with one of the many families who were impacted.
I spoke with an Alameda fire survivor, one of thousands that were displaced. She shared her emotional journey, loss, resilience, and recovery.
Homes around ours that didn't burn. It was hard to accept that, why ours?
That's what Yadira Amirada experienced, like so many others, finding out they lost her home to the Alameda fire. After her graveyard shift, Yadira spent the night with her sister who lived in Medford.
She kept waking me up. She's like, you probably need to go over there and get your stuff because it's getting close, and they're saying that you guys might have to evacuate.
But the next day, when Yadira tried to drive to her house, she couldn't, as the streets were barricaded and police wouldn't let her go through.
It's mainly the loss of, it was our home, but I had all the kids were growing up as babies. We had.
A few days passed by, and this is what they returned to.
Dude, lost everything.
But their biggest loss, their dog, Chica.
We had a dog there, the kid's dog. She ended up passing away. he burned.
After being displaced without a home, Yadira and her kids spent time living at her sister's house and moving to an RV for some time.
The world turned upside down, pretty much. We were from having our own place to now sharing, the living situation.
A situation that was made worse because COVID-19 was happening, which resulted in less work for Yadira and the medical staff.
There was no need for 20 CNAs, and so we were called off a lot. It was a huge impact because income-wise.
Yadira ended up switching careers and now is a realtor at Pacific Flats, an apartment complex that gives back by providing vouchers and assistance to the Alameda Fire survivors.
Just makes me feel, really great about, being able to provide, a home for someone. It's been, a very emotional experience, hard. It's been a somewhat of a roller coaster, but I've just got to say now, I think I'm in a good place.
Yadira prays and hopes everyone has found the same peace.
And I just hope that everyone has found, a safe home, especially when there's children involved.
And this is just one of thousands of stories of people who lost their home to the Alameda Fire. After 5 years, it continues to be a recovery process for people. Looking ahead, we'll talk about how housing developments are focused on bringing affordable housing to fire survivors. Reporting in studio, I'm Oscar Rodriguez.
And volunteers from the community came together yesterday to place thousands of flowers on the streets of Talent. This is the third time this event has occurred, and it is to remember and reflect on the 2020 Labor Day fires. The flowers were donated from local flower gardens, and several people came to volunteer to help put the flowers into vases. This acknowledges not just rebuilding the city, but the community's resilience and unity in their darkest times.
It was a huge and devastating day for us, but we're rebuilding and we're strong and we're resilient and we have hope and we love and adore our community.
Cheryl told Newswatch 12 that their goal one day is to have enough flowers to line 99 and to have both communities of Phoenix and Talent join together. As well, Oregon Representative Pam Marsh stopped by and helped out.
What we're really doing is remembering, acknowledging, appreciating each other, reflecting on the trauma that the community has experienced and our efforts to come together.
And if you're driving down the streets and liked any of the flowers you see, you can take them home with you as a reminder of the community that came together in a time of need. And as our communities grow and evolve after these fires, so does our response. Sarah Kress takes a look at emergency response and how it's grown in the last 5 years.
Even with all the planning in the world, weather and natural disasters can change in an instant, leaving protocols and guidelines compromised. After the Labor Day fires, local agencies have worked to improve and equip our community with the right tools if disaster strikes.
That's when we knew this was different, and the winds continued to push it. And then it went from this is really bad to this is something like we've never seen before.
The 2020 Labor Day fires were a turning point for Southern Oregon, pushing local agencies to rethink how they prepare, communicate, and respond when disaster strikes. All agree that these situations are all hands on deck. Jackson County Sheriff's Office, Jackson County Emergency Management, and the National Weather Service are in partnership among other agencies in leading the effort to keep the community safe. And to our advantage, we have a strong community of people who know the land and weather patterns.
And that does help us with our forecasting abilities and our ability to communicate to our fire agency partners and the public as well to say, hey, we have, a big event coming and, pay attention sort of thing.
One big change since 2020 has been how agencies communicate warnings.
Red flag warnings were originally intended for firefighting agencies and not necessarily for the public. In communication with emergency managers, they wanted a little bit more actionable information that the public can take when we do have red flag warnings in effect.
What I hope the public is doing once they receive one of those is that they can start taking proactive action to make defensible space around their home.
Where collaboration is seen firsthand is with a new program launched this year, Jackson Alerts, making sure information gets out faster and clearer than before.
If you're looking for instantaneous information to see if you are impacted with an evacuation, then you need to sign up for Jackson Alerts because that's the official source coming from law enforcement and fire, boots on the ground.
From the start of an incident, agencies work side by side, from forecasters to emergency managers, and of course our first responders.
As quickly as possible, meet with fire and kind of just figure out what's threatened, evacuation levels. If they recommend an evacuation notice, whatever level it is, that's typically when we'll call emergency management.
The focus is not only on agencies, but giving the public clear steps to protect themselves.
Sign up for Jackson Alert. Be prepared.
Getting your, fire kit and your go kit ready to go before fire season.
Start taking proactive action to make defensible space around their home.
Being prepared for wildfire season is a must in Southern Oregon and Northern California. Knowing your zone can help you know what to do if a wildfire starts. Head to kdrv.com to find out how you can find your zone using Genesis Protect and to sign up to receive alerts for your county. In studio, I'm Sarah Kress.
In 5 years after the fire, both new and old businesses are rising again, helping restore the heart of Phoenix and proving this community's resilience. Newswatch 12's Grace Ritz shows us how. Standing in downtown Phoenix, where the Alameda fire destroyed hundreds of businesses and structures. But 5 years later, businesses are not only rebuilding, but reuniting.
It's also cool to see not just the rebuilding from the fire, but just an actual space where Phoenix has like a heart.
Shauna Williams, the owner of Truffle Pig at the Foodery, knows the challenges firsthand when her parents lost everything but the clothes on their backs and her business was put on the back burner.
My parents lost their home in the Alameda fire, which definitely made it difficult for us because they ended up living with us through that time, and then our business was kind of put on hold a little bit. We still kept trying to stay open. We had a food trailer at the time, but it made things challenging.
But even those who didn't experience loss that day, like Liz O'Brien, who opened her ceramic studio in 2020, knows how much the community rallied together to help its people.
Right after the Alameda fire, our studio, the members put together and threw a bunch of bowls and cups, and then we gifted them to all the Alameda survivors. I think that was like a really pivotal part of being a part of the community.
After the smoke had settled, businesses like Truffle Pig, Northwest Ceramics, Grappletown, and many others in the community used their passions to help heal Phoenix and still continue to thrive 5 years later.
We get it all the time. There used to be a gym here that was lost in the fires, and people are saying we needed this again. I still think some people are still heartbroken from it, and it changes the way you look at life and what you're looking to do. All we can do is offer them something that can serve as a distraction or help them feel better about their day-to-day.
While the Alameda fire might have destroyed so much, Phoenix and talent is rooted in the people.
Their people in Phoenix are unlike any other.
Reporting in Phoenix, I'm Grace Ritz.
And when the fire tore through the valley, it left behind a lifeless landscape, but what looked like the end was just the beginning of a remarkable recovery. Newswatch 12's Danny Stepanovich takes us to Bear Creek, where scientists say the story of birds reveals the health of the entire ecosystem.
Birds are more than just part of the scenery. They're nature's early warning system. Scientists call them indicator species, a reflection of the health of the entire ecosystem.
Birds are indicators of our own well-being. They're like the canary in the coal mine.
Years of fire suppression combined with invasive plants like the Himalayan blackberry created dense, dry fuel.
Historically that stuff would have been burned through periodic small intensity fires. We took fire off the landscape essentially. We also brought in non-native species. It was a recipe for disaster.
The fire was devastating for birds in the short term, but it wiped out dense blackberry thickets and native forests regrew incredibly fast. And in a couple of years, bird populations rebounded.
Recovery efforts at Bear Creek focus on preventing invasive species from returning, connecting riverbanks, reintroducing multi-layered vegetation.
The biggest thing that focus for restoration in there right now needs to be trying to prevent the noxious weeds from coming back.
Parks Director Steve Lambert says the city's land management decisions were necessary.
I think if we just turned a blind eye to the Bear Creek Greenway and let it do its thing, by now you'd have a full thicket of blackberries out there again.
But Ryan says controlled burns and thinning projects could be the most effective to creating a fire-adapted and resilient landscape.
Fire is a natural part of the landscape, and so we need to be out there proactively doing thinning projects, applying fire back on the landscape.
Not everyone is convinced that intensive restoration is always necessary, and the question whether human intervention is always worth the effort and cost. Nate has been surveying bird populations along the creek since the fire.
This forest across the way here grew itself after the fire, but of course we don't know what this will look like in 20 years here. Maybe these plantings will really take off.
He says an invasive species of birds, the European starlings, are far the most common bird now.
That's probably a sign that some things are not super healthy with the habitat. half the birds are starlings.
Restoration isn't just about the plants, it's about creating habitat for birds and wildlife.
When the fire came through, it was really devastating, but then like 2 years later, the native forest was regrowing super well. You know, this was burnt to a crisp 5 years ago, and you can see how thick it is now.
Scientists emphasize that the health of the habitat is more than removing invasive species. It's about maintaining the structure that supports native wildlife.
Riparian forests are different than other forests, and if we don't maintain their structure, then the birds that have evolved to live only here and nowhere else will have nowhere to go.
And at the same time as the Alameda fire broke out, so did multiple other fires, which would collectively burn nearly 200,000 acres. Coming up, we'll take a look at those other fires and the investigations that followed.